You asked me about how we make twins, and this is the video. When you're talking about twins or triplets, this is something that we refer to as multiple pregnancies. So it can either be twins or triplets if there are 3, or quadruplets if there are 4, or quintuplets, sextuplets. It depends on the number of them. I have had one patient before who had quadruplets and they were identical and naturally conceived. I was like, hey mama. So we're going to now learn how it is that these things happen. We have 2 types. They can either be fraternal or identical. Fraternal basically means that they are different, so they are 2 eggs and 2 sperms that form. So this is normally from something that is called hyperovulation, where the woman produces more than 1 egg at a time during ovulation. This has been attributed to the high levels of this hormone called FSH, the follicular stimulating hormone, or also called the egg stimulating hormone, to make it simple for you to understand. This high number of follicular stimulating hormone tends to be common in older women, and someone is in menopause. Let me give you an example. When we get into menopause, it's an inverse. You remember those things in math about those fractions that were inversely proportional, all those equations. So when FSH is high, estrogen is low. When estrogen is high, FSH is low. Why? When you have high FSH, it helps to stimulate the production of increased amount of estrogen. And then when estrogen is high, it will inhibit or step on the FSH and be like, no, calm down. So basically, this FSH is going to be higher in women who are menopausal, or as we attempt an approach towards menopause, the FSH is going to increase in amount because our estrogen is low. So it's like the FSH is trying to say produce more estrogen, produce more estrogen. But by doing this, because it's an egg stimulating hormone, it causes the woman to hyperovulate because it releases more eggs because it's an egg stimulating hormone, okay? So this is why it is common in women who are older than 35. That's when you will have higher chances of having twins. And if you've had twins before, chances are that as you get older, you may have a higher risk of having more twins. That's when you find some woman, you find that when she's getting older, she keeps having more twins, more triplets, more children, like that. So another thing that tends to cause a higher likelihood is when it comes to family history, if you have family history of twins, especially on the maternal side or on the woman's side. So if as a woman you have a history of maybe you're a twin, or you have siblings who are twins, or your mother is a twin, or you've had twins in the family, there's a higher chance of you having twins as well. And then treatments that are like fertility treatments. That's why sometimes when you're trying to stimulate fertility, or women who are on IVF or things like this, they have a higher chances of having twins or triplets or more children, because you're basically inducing ovulation to increase chances of fertility. When it comes to fraternal twins, these ones are more or less like siblings. It is different eggs that have been fertilized by different sperm. So it's like you're just having siblings that have been produced at the same time. That's how fraternal twins come into existence. When it comes to identical twins, these ones, it is 1 egg that has been produced, fertilized by 1 sperm, and then it begins to split. Now, identical twins are the ones who look alike. They tend to have same hair color, they are the same gender, same makeup. Why? Because these particular twins have been formed through the same egg and the same sperm. Just the differences have been in the splitting. Now, depending on the point at which we split, the split occurs within the first 2 weeks of conceiving. So, we can either be splitting 2 to 3 days after fertilization, or 3 to 8 days, or 8 to 13, or over 13. And all of these are the impacts. If the egg, this one meets and it forms an embryo, and when it forms this embryo, the embryo splits between 2 to 3 days. That means if it happens, if you have quick split and it's between 2 to 3 days, you will create what are called di twins, or dichorionic diamniotic. This simply means, di means they have, chorionic is the placenta, amniotic is the sac, okay? So if it's di, it means, di means 2. Okay, so if it's di, it means you have 2 chorions and 2 amniotes, which is basically 2 placentas and 2 amniotic sacs, which means the babies are going to look like this. They're just sharing a house, but each of them has their own supply. So this is the supply for this baby, and they have their own sac. And then this is the supply for this baby, and they have their own sac, which is why they're called di twins. This to me is the best category. If the split happens later, between 3 to 8 days, or after the 3 days to the first week, you're going to have what they call monodi twins, which means that you're going to have them having 1 placenta, but they're going to have 2 sacs, which means that they're going to share 1 source of nutrients, which is the placenta, but they're going to have 2 different sacs. So basically, it's like you have 1 house, you share 1 kitchen, but you have 2 different rooms. So that's how it is. The next set of twins is if you split between day 8 and day 13. So either in that week, either between that the week has elapsed to the 14 days. So between 8 and 13 days, you're going to have what we call mono twins. These ones share the house, they share the kitchen, they share the room, they share the bed, everything. So they're extremely bonded. So this is how it is. So this is the house that they have, which is the mother. This is the placenta they have. They share the same placenta. This is baby number 1. This is baby number 2. They are all in one sac. There's no split. So if you can notice, these ones are the die twins. They separate within the first 2 to 3 days. How you think about it, you're in one house, you have 2 separate kitchens, and you have 2 separate rooms. So there's a lot of space. Everyone is living independently, but just that you're sharing the same house. The next ones were between 3 to 8 days, which is the monodi twins, whereby they will share the same kitchen, but they have 2 separate rooms. The third ones are between 8 and 13 days, and they're called the mono twins. These ones share the same kitchen, and they share the same room, which is the same sac, under the same house. Now, if you go further and this one split later after 2 weeks after fertilization, you have a higher chances of having Siamese twins or conjoined twins, which means these ones hardly separate. That means you see that the features are having difficulty separating, meaning also the babies can begin becoming conjoined. So either they are joined on the thorax, or they're joined on the head, or they're joined in the limbs, whatever other part it is that they are from, but then the children are basically joined at one point on them. And separation depends on at one point that they're joined. If it is on a crucial organ like the heart, the lungs, the brain, that one separation can be very, very difficult and tricky. Why I was saying these ones are the best, because they are growing together, but they have 2 separate sources. Competition for nutrients is much, much, much lower. There's something we call twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, where basically the twins overcompete. One of the twins gets more nutrient supply than the other. So you can find out by you find someone is pregnant, but one twin weighs like 1 kilogram, the other twin weighs like 3 kilograms. The difference is very big. Why? Because now they began competing, and the one who gets more supply is the one who's going to grow bigger. There's also a certain tribe, I've forgotten which part of Nigeria, I'll probably type it, but this is where they have twins so many and so frequently, because and some attributed to the foods that they eat and things like that. So it's basically a genetic thing, an ethnic thing, and that's basically it. Tell me, would you want twins? Would you want triplets? Would you want quadruplets? Type in the comment section below. Let me know what it is that you think. Otherwise, that's the end of today's video. Class dismissed.